Okay, we're starting the recording. So this part, Deborah, I would love to have you share your before, now, future story with everyone. So for newer consultants or guests, what that means is whenever a consultant is sharing the product, Mary Kay, Ash always ask us to please share about the opportunity at the same time, because then people we're educating, how to meet their needs that they have with their facial skin, their body skin, makeup application, etc. We offer them instruction, and then people get to pick if they want to use Mary Kay or something else, with that education. And then with the opportunity, we're educating people about an opportunity to be able to live and work maybe a different way and meet needs in their life. And so the before, now, future story is something that all consultants learn to share. It's kind of like an elevator speech, people may say, but it is something that you want to share with all of your customers, because we want women to know why we do this and what Mary Kay has given us, because there's nowhere else. Like that video you saw from Mary Kay Corporate, that they do those things, but they don't recruit people into this company. We don't have an HR department that hires consultants. We are the HR department. Mary Kay is depending on us to continue this company on. And that's pretty serious if you think about it. I mean, our company has been around thriving for 60 years, not just surviving. But the responsibility to continue this company going on is not with Mary Kay Corporate. It's with us, who Mary Kay called her daughters. She started this so that we would have this opportunity. The company wasn't started so that a company could be profitable and, debt-free, which it's both, but that's not why it was started. It was started for a woman to have an opportunity that Mary Kay didn't think that she had ever been given, and that she didn't see available to women in the 60s. And I can guarantee you in 2024, it's still not available. So share with everyone your before, now, future story.
Okay, great. So my before, really, I have been a personal use consultant for over 30 years. I was invited to a Mary Kay skincare, someone's kitchen, and fell in love with the products. And of course, for 50% off, I said, yes, of course. But through those many years, I did get invited to meetings and events, and I grew to love just the pouring into and the uplifting, because I've always been in corporate America. Well, I did have my own business, but I spent many, many more years in corporate America, and of course, not the case, especially as a woman. And so I, for the last 15 years, had a very good job with healthcare, made it to vice president level, and built an organization within the company I was with. I did know that the writing was eventually on the wall that my position would be eliminated, as we all have experienced and heard stories or have personally been, impacted by that. And I kind of made the decision when COVID hit that I better really start planning for this, right? So I started building my inventory and really thinking a little more of, okay, let me be prepared. Well, sure enough, last February, so it's barely been a little over a year, I was invited to that wonderful 10-minute call that, hey, Deborah, hate to do this to you, but your position's being eliminated. You'll get your severance, and thank you. Your last day will be 2 weeks from today. And so there my journey began. And it was so awesome, though, because I had the exposure to the products. I love the products. I've been using the products for all of those 30 some years. But I called Dawn, and she was like, congratulations. And we just began, right? And so my future is really the career path. I'm right now, as Dawn mentioned, I'm going to finish DIQ. So I'll be a director April 1st. And then I want the pink Cadillac, because why not? And everybody I say that to says the same thing. Well, of course, why not? And then national. Now time will have a little crunch there, because there are some time constraints and age constraints with that. But I couldn't be happier because I had something that I already had gotten so familiar with, fallen in love with, knew the culture was absolutely supportive of women. And I've always had a passion. I'm that underdog person, but for women and children. So even in my corporate world, I was always the women's leader person. I ran the women's leadership group, never went anywhere because the board of directors was all men, and so it was very controlled. And, it was like, yeah, no, well, we'll have you in that side room. You can do the women's event at the end of the day or something. It was really, but I always had a passion for women and children. So now I feel like I get to finish, my working life just doing just that. So I love being able to share the products with women and just watch them glow. And then I know that I'm impacting their families, their children, their generations, and so on.
I love that you were a personal use consultant for 30 years. So you saved a ton of money and got familiar with the culture from the inside out and the products too, which is wise because I hear often, I mean, in my 38 years of recruiting and training women to build Mary Kay businesses, I hear a lot of people waiting for the right time. Oh, it's not the right time. I don't have enough time at this season of my life, or it's the wrong season on the calendar. And then life presents a real need for them to have more knowledge and comfort level, knowing that, okay, I can do this and make money because I've seen people doing it for 30 years. So I know that when you got that email, that was a totally different feeling than someone who is broadsided and does not have a plan B option already in the works. So that in this day and age, I think that that's even more important. Like that message we need to get out there that we don't have quotas. So why get your feet wet, and be able to see things from the inside out to know if you need a plan B because your spouse's job ends, your job ends. I mean, you downplay a good job. You had a really good job. You were making a lot of money. There's very few females that make what you were making. Your bonuses, your yearly bonuses were more than most women or men make in a year. So that was a lot. And something I have come to really respect you for is that sometimes people aren't willing to take a step back and become a consultant and build a customer base and learn new skills. Like they're not willing to take what they may perceive or other people may perceive as a step back to be able to take a step forward. What would you like to share with women who are listening to this and they're considering, this opportunity to get their feet wet, or, maybe what they're doing they love and they're very successful with it. Started as an insurance plan just in case, because you have a real clear perspective on that now.
Yeah, it is a great question. And I think that in hindsight, every woman really, if they're using the products, should do at least like I did. Why not get what you're using at half price, right? And then you can, at the times it's convenient, engage yourself, indulge, join things and go to seminars, go to career conferences. But that way you've got a plan B. I've always had to be a plan B person. I mean, if I shared my whole life story here, we'd be here all night. But I've learned at a very early age, you've got to prepare for absolutely the unexpected because it will happen. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It will happen. And it happens to everybody in some form or fashion, some of us a little more dramatically than others. So for me, it was just ideal. And honestly, for years, I thought, yeah, probably not, but I loved the products and I just loved it. But then when COVID hit again, it was kind of that big, everybody had their eyes open, right? It was like, oh boy, nobody really knew, even healthcare people. And I know there are healthcare people on this call this evening. So it's just a great way to learn the ropes. And then, yeah, I think you've got to be able to say, well, and I will say this, I sure didn't know a whole lot about the Mary Kay business side. I knew all about the skincare and loved that and could have sold, anything. But when it comes to learning what I've had to learn over the last, 6 to 12 months, I had no idea really. So you have to be willing. And if you are willing, coachable, and just realize that it's not about you, because if you want to lead in this company, you've got to also be able to teach and coach people. So how can you teach and coach somebody if you haven't done it yourself? And I was a subject matter expert in the world of the corporate where I was, and I that meant a lot to me, because then I could literally sit next to someone and say, no, let me show you and let me do it for you, or let me, no, you're doing it wrong, whatever, or doing it right, or, let me show you some, and so that was already in me to be comfortable doing that. So yeah. And I think that's the key. And we have awesome coaches, and I've been blessed to have Dawn directly, but no matter who you have, so to my team members, trust me, I've been trained by the best, and I would do the same thing. It's like we want everyone to be so successful, and you don't get that in other jobs either. So
So subject matter expert. So looking at this last year, share with everyone um, what you've experienced as far as like coaching and training, because again, I hear a lot of people like, I'm not a salesperson type. I don't know how to sell anything. I don't know anything about cosmetics. I've never had my own business. I'm not, I've never been an entrepreneur, etc. All the things they aren't. Will you share, with people in a general fashion, how can you offset that worry or anxiety or a hindrance for them even to get started, that they're not going to have the training and support that they need to achieve their goals?
yeah. So if we are willing to think back to whatever job we had when we first started day one, right? We were pretty unprepared at that job, and we had to learn, right? Every day was just an apprenticeship and a learning on the job. So I think I've never been in sales, never in all of my career. And I also knew the products, but I will say the where you can go off the rails easily, and I'm speaking because I've done it and I'm still doing it. Probably I keep getting rerouted back. You want to kind of do it your way, right? Well, I'm going to use these words and I'm going to talk to her this way or whatever. I mean, Mary Kay, 60 years. It's been tried and true. So use the scripts, use the advice, use everything that you're given. And Mary Kay in Touch, like I said, here's everything I spoke about this evening. You don't have to memorize. You don't have to know everything about this product. It's there, and women actually probably appreciate that you're reading something, because we want to know that, hey, yeah, you're not just making something up or off the cuff. So I think it's really the coachability. And again, it takes a humility. And I think as women, we don't want to be in that vulnerable position of humility, right? We want to be that strong, independent person. And you just have to be able to say, okay, well, get over it. And let's just read or do what you're being, shared to do. And it's amazing how that actually works. Because then it is the right words to the right people, and even, target market. There's a reason we go into the right target markets if you want to, make the certain numbers. And it is all about numbers too, which I'm a big thinker. I like the big picture part. So the devil in the details is not really my strong suit, but that's okay too, because there are plenty of people in the company who can help with that, or you bring somebody to help you who you can say, okay, well, you do all the math and just tell me where I'm short or what I need. And that kind of stuff. So I've always learned to supplement what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses. I've been asking that question as I interviewed people for 20 years, so I kind of know what mine are.
Mm-hmm. What has been the most, I mean, you had been not a bystander, but personal use. I mean, you were enjoying the benefits of the product, you were enjoying the culture. I think it's super smart that you went to seminar and career conference, because some people think, well, I'm not doing this as a business, so I don't need to go to those things. So that was super wise on your part, because you had a much different perspective of people that, if they haven't plugged into any of that. But what has been the most maybe surprising thing that you have found that you really enjoy or you didn't expect about being part of, building a Mary Kay? You're building a Mary Kay business, but, in addition to that, what's caught you by surprise and been a benefit that you didn't even realize that you needed or wanted or would enjoy as much as you have?
So as a bystander, I didn't really build the genuine relationships. I knew people by name and I'd see them very randomly, right? So I would say the thing that really has impacted me and caught me the most, even off guard, because I've always just, I don't know, I'm one of those people, I've kept a very small circle, so I'm not as social as I am. I don't have a ton of friends, and even family, it's just a small circle. So what I've learned and what I've gained, and many of the faces on the screen, is that sisterhood, that friendship, that isn't just, we do it because we have to, like at a job, we're friendly. Yeah. Good morning, Bob. Good morning, Susie, that kind of stuff. And they may ask, how's the family? But it's not genuine in this culture. I think that's what keeps me going, even when I'm at my low, because we all have good and bad days, right? There are days I'm like, okay. And I could, everything. I have had every possible barrier and blockade and challenge in the last 12 months. But what keeps me going is I don't want to do anything else. I don't ever want to go back to working for someone else who's going to tell me what I'm going to make, and then that's it. And I'll never be able to exceed that. And I'll only get, a promotion if they decide. Here I can kind of plot that all out myself, and I don't ever want to retire. So that's another factor that I don't have to worry about when someone else might decide that, well, it's probably time for this one to sunset. And that's the word. Sunset this one, which is terrible, right? But
Mhm. Yeah, there's
oh,
huge age discrimination in our
yeah,
country's
yeah. Even though
workforce.
on paper they'll say it's not, and they cross all
Right.
their, because I had
Mhm.
to be part of a lot of those conversations. But yeah, so yeah, there's that. I would say still it's been, and it's been enhanced, my God, 100-fold since I've been doing this full time and networking with people like on a regular basis. It really
Mhm.
is the culture. The culture is everything. And then the fact on how you get to see how you can change women's lives. I mean, who doesn't need money right now? So
Mhm.
really, and I am kind of one of those people. I think this is such a great idea to do this, that I can't understand why everybody just doesn't say yes to me. Um, and that's the hardest part, but when they do say yes, and then they actually, can see that unfold also, it's just, I don't know, nothing better.
So let's wrap up with this, because you know, you're talking about retirement. And so, we're around the same age, just a little over 60. And there, are a lot of women like ourselves that, we don't want to, retire in the traditional sense of not working. We want, we're grandmas and we want to spend time with grandkids and we want flexibility. But share, with women, because there'll be women listening to this that if they're not in that, over 50 looking at this season of life perspective, they have moms or grandmas that are. And that's a segment of Mary Kay that I mean, not surprised, because the wisdom that you have as you get older, and this business is so much passing wisdom down to, next generations. But in our area, the women that are 60, some of our top people are in their 70s, going into their 80s. They're selling the most product. They're recruiting the most people. They're leading teams. They're having free cars. I mean, some of them are kicking butt and taking names versus people who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And so, I mean, Mary Kay will be so excited about that because she never started this till she retired. But speak to the women who are like, I don't, my job's going to make me retire, but I need purpose. I need to be doing something of value. Like, I feel like there's still a giant within me that needs to get out and do something,
Yeah.
and granted, the people that, you want to play golf, be a grandma and not work, there's nothing wrong with that. Be a customer, look great while you're doing it. But speak to the women that they're not comfortable with that. Like, they know that the traditional job is sunsetting, but speak to how this fits into a life as we are aging.
Yeah. And Dawn, what I've started to add into my conversations when appropriate is with a woman who is in her 50s or 60s or even beyond my age. Well, do you want to? Because we're kind of programmed, right? We're supposed to, and you've talked about this, we're supposed to get our college degrees, then we go work for somebody else and we work our butts off there and for them. And then when it's time to retire, we're just supposed to retire. We're supposed to be happy about that. And again, it's all independent, right? So I just kind of ask the questions to get that woman thinking about, is that really what she wants? Because like I've been very comfortable saying, I know I don't want that, but some women, you kind of get on that treadmill or, and you just follow, okay, well, I'm a rule follower. If I'm supposed to retire at whatever age, I'm going to do that. So this gives women an opportunity and they get to see it, to where that's what I think the beauty of having all age ranges in Mary Kay is that you get to see women. And I will say this, every woman that I see running a strong Mary Kay business, she looks phenomenal. So there is something we drink the right water, right? I don't know what it is, or we use all the right products, but it's spiritual, it's in your heart, and it's how happy you are. Because when we live and work a job where we're just, oh God, okay, I gotta go, and oh, this is going on here, that's not gonna carry you through many, many years. I joke and threaten my kids I'm gonna live to 93. And they're probably like, oh boy. But maybe. And maybe this will
Mm-hmm.
allow me, because I'll live happier. And then you do have the freedom to just, do and work your business as you want to. And it doesn't mean that you take advantage of that, right? You've got to be disciplined and you've got to know how much you want to earn or how much you want to do. But I think that's the best part of it, is to just get women thinking outside of the box of, I have to retire. Because if there is somebody, and again, I'm the same way. If you don't want, if you are looking forward to that, great. But you might come see me a year or two after retirement and say,
Mm-hmm.
what? I kind of need some extra money. I don't like this constrained budget, because then you are living on whatever that is. And I don't know too many places that have pensions, and that it's it's unfortunate unless you've, socked away a lot of invested money. So yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
great conversation, and I'm comfortable having it because of where I sit right now. A 20-year-old couldn't probably have that same conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but this is where we all balance, everybody's got their right niche. So the other thing is just be you. And I think that's the greatest gift that Mary Kay gives women, is that you don't have to be like her or her or her. Just be you. As maybe you stumble, maybe you spill stuff, maybe you have a broken hand, maybe you I mean, I think I've probably made every, mistake or wrong wording that can be done, but you learn from it and you move on. But people appreciate the human aspect too, because if we're
Mm-hmm.
too perfect, I think this was said maybe with one of the nationals, that she had to stop being so perfectly, gifted at what she was doing, because people would watch and say, well, I can't do that, because
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't, I read from my flip chart. I, probably say it wrong, forget what order it's in. Yeah. Okay. Forget that. We got to go back, anyway. Yeah. Just be you.
Mm-hmm. So parting words for the guests that are listening to this now, or to a recording, or consultants that are, thinking, well, maybe I could do more with this. Maybe I do need to get a little bit more plugged in. What words of encouragement or advice would you give to both of those groups?
So I would say, why not? It doesn't take, I mean, if you have 5 hours a week, if you're working a full-time job and maybe that's all you've got, I would say invest that time and start, because if you don't ever really earn money, you're never going to see it as the career path that it can be, right? If it's just a hobby and you're just using it for your stuff, it really doesn't have the same impact. And again, you just don't know what's ahead, but this has so many values that are beyond the money. It's the empowerment, it's the cars, it's just, you can earn as much as you want to, but if you don't ever start, like everything, you have to start, we don't just start with the first step and then see where it goes. So ask your leader to just, hey, if I had an extra 5 hours a week, how can I maximize that? And really, if you work smart and not hard, you can. So it really depends on your ambition. And I will say this, because I was talking to my son earlier about just being employed versus an entrepreneur. It takes an inner strength, and it's not any harder work, because we work hard when we work for someone else, and that I put in very long hours, very long weeks. I'd go wherever they said to go, but it's a different kind of tenacity when you have to motivate yourself. So if you have that in you to where you can say, I'm going to do this, and I'm kind of one of those people that is determined to never say quit and never say I can't do something. So that keeps me going too. But you won't know until you try. And I think as long as you can lean into somebody who really is willing to help you, and I can guarantee you every leader in Mary Kay is willing to help you, you've got the golden ticket. Then it's all on you.
Mhm. Mm. Well, thank you. You're going to be an amazing, amazing sales director. Um, and I'm glad that you got let go. I I'm grateful because the lives that you're going to impact, because you were let go of, that job is, God knows, he knows. And it's all been a perfect setup, I believe. So for guests that are listening, or listening to a recording, this journey starts. Like Deborah said, you have nothing to lose, and you just get started. And getting started in Mary Kay means getting a consultant number. And depending on when you're listening to this, right now in March, that could be a $10 decision, a $100 decision, or a $145 decision. My personal choice is the $100 decision, because you have a whole starter kit. You have full-size skincare sets. You have, if you went to buy a miracle set from your consultant, you'd pay more than $100 for it. And you get 2 of the miracle sets, plus lots of other full-size products, your mirrors and trays, everything that you need to do your business in person and virtually. The $10 gives you credit card processing and a website. It's your foot in the door, but you have no tools. And so then you buy the tools separately later, and they will cost more money if it's outside your first 2 weeks in Mary Kay. And so the $100 special is the best one going. And 38 years ago, May 19th, when I bought my starter kit, it was about the same price. The company's done a fantastic job, because Mary Kay wanted to keep the startup cost less than $100, because she knew that every woman could get her hands on that money if she wanted to. And that's still true today. So give it a shot. And worst case, if Deborah would have just continued to use her products at half off, and that would have saved her money, and she wouldn't have proceeded when her job ended, she still would have been in a win-win scenario, because she would have gotten a glimpse into women that maybe operate and support each other differently than what she had observed and experienced in corporate America. So there's still the personal benefits and the relationships and the encouragement. But you never know. You never know. None of us ever know when we start off a little scared and just say, get a consultant number and give it a shot. That worst case is you get stuff at half off and some great tax deductions and meet some new people. And from personal experience, best case, the sky's the limit. Because right now we have a leadership void in Mary Kay, and we need leaders stepping up, using their leadership gifts, women who are passionate about helping women and children using their leadership gifts in Mary Kay. And that's just a perfect match for you and all the women that are on this screen that are consultants and directors. So guest tonight, I hope that got something. I know when I first heard this, like I couldn't sit still. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. I never thought of ever doing anything in direct sales. And I came to help a friend and I was just invited to come to this, but I knew I would regret and miss out if I didn't give it a shot. So that's worth $100, because $100, especially in this economy, isn't even a trip to Target. It isn't even a quarter of a grocery store visit. It's like a gas tank for my car. I'm glad that Mary Kay pays for my car and has for 33 years as gas prices go up and down. So, for guest, ask your consultant. You know what? I'm thinking about this. Ask questions so you make a decision based on fact versus fiction. In fiction are the questions you answer for yourself, or you let someone else answer who's never successfully built a Mary Kay business. Make your decision based on fact versus fiction and faith versus fear. Every single person that is going to hear this and is listening to it as a woman has done far harder things in her life than teach women how to wash their face with the #1 line of skincare in the world. So thank you for joining us. Guest, I know that your consultant has already set up a time to ask you, what did you enjoy most about what you heard? If you ever started a Mary Kay business, what would the reason be? And other than fear, what would hold you back from getting a consultant number for that reason? All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night.